Welcome to the Truth and Dare podcast with Dr. Nandi Shareef, where we shine a light on how embracing everyday vulnerabilities helps us live fuller and more authentic lives. Tune into our podcast to hear how women practice accepting and loving the most vulnerable parts of themselves. And then stay for the pep talks about creating the space to do it yourself. Are you ready to jump into this episode, sis? Yes? All right? Then let's get it. Welcome to the Truth and Dare podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nandi Shareef, and today we're talking about an important truth, that fine is the enemy of fabulous. Almost 5 years ago, my life looked great. I'm talking about it couldn't have looked any better, or so I thought. I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area, paying all of those high prices. I was working in the tech industry, making an impact in some really significant ways and working within people development and human resources. I had a great house in the Piedmont area of Oakland, and I lived above a little store right across the street from 7-Eleven. I could walk around and see all the cute little doggies that lived in the neighborhood. And it was just a really beautiful life. I traveled whenever I wanted to. I was able to see my friends. And on top of that, for the first time in a really long time, I was in an amazing relationship with a very beautiful man. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this life is incredible. It was almost like a handcrafted sweater, if you would, one that was organic and bespoke and small batch. And someone really took a lot of time on it. You could just tell all of the work that went into this life. And then one day I noticed a loose thread, and it was a little bit unnerving because it didn't happen when I was at home in the comfort of my own house, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday morning, just reflecting on my life. No, it happened to happen in front of a group of people. I had gotten together with some of my friends from work and their partners, and we went over to Berkeley, California, and sat at the Claremont Hotel. And it was absolutely beautiful because there's this outside area where you can sit, and in their beautiful patio furniture, you can look over the bay and see the San Francisco skyline. So we're relishing, we're taking it all in. And then we start to do some check-ins because since we're colleagues, most of the time at work, we're only talking about work and projects that we had. And this time around, we had the opportunity to just see how we're doing person to person. And so one of my colleagues starts, and her wife is there, and they're talking about their amazing partnership and how things are going really well for them. And they were really excited. And then they kicked it over to another colleague, and she started to chat about how she had this amazing experience going off in a retreat in New York, and she didn't know where she was going. It was a complete surprise, and that she ended up being surprised with meeting someone that she fell in love with. So it was really, really awesome. And I'm hearing these stories and I'm leaning in, waiting with bated breath to hear the next thing that my colleagues had to say. And I was enjoying it so much that I didn't even really recognize when they turned their attention toward me and asked, well, Nandi, we haven't heard from you. What are your updates? How are you? And I paused for a lot longer than I think I intended to. And as I started to gather my thoughts, I just allowed myself to speak. And I said, oh, everything's fine. Work is fine. The house is fine. My partner is fine. My family is fine. Yeah, everything is pretty fine. And just like that old sweater, I looked and I saw this thread called, "Is this all there is?" I'm hearing myself say fine, and I'm like, that doesn't quite sound right. If everything is together and I've got all of these accolades and accomplishments and experiences, what should have come out of my mouth is, my life is incredible. My life is great. Kind of how I led us into this conversation today. That was not what I said. I said everything was fine. And the little voice inside of me said, is fine all there is? And I began to then pull on the thread of that sweater, because oftentimes when you pull, that piece is not all there is. But if you've ever done that, what you probably notice is that while that's not all there is, when you keep pulling, you unravel it. And that's exactly what happened for me and my life. As soon as I started to investigate why everything felt fine, I was able to notice that fine was a construct that I had created to cover up what was actually unfulfillment and dissatisfaction. And I was just going to keep going with it. And I know that I'm not the only person that feels like this. Sis, if you're listening right now and you're saying, I can just keep going with it, I can just keep doing it, I'm telling you, that's exactly what I tried to do. But it wasn't actually fine. So continuing to try to go for it didn't work. It started to unravel even more. And then it wasn't about what I was choosing to do. It was also then about what other people were choosing to do. And so soon after that discovery, after that conversation, after the beautiful talk with the view, my partner came to me and he said that he didn't want to be with me anymore and that he couldn't be who I needed him to be. And I was completely out of sorts. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to make of it because the thread started to unravel more and more. And I sank into a deep sadness that I'd only ever experienced maybe once or twice before. And it was so bad that my friends couldn't even get me out of it. They were worried about me. They were so concerned. And when I couldn't come out of the funk, when I didn't come out of the depression, when my sadness overtook me, and they were going through amazing experiences in life and they wanted me to be able to celebrate with them, and I couldn't, then they rejected me. And they decided that I was being too much, that I had so much else in my life going on other than this guy, and that I needed to put on my big girl pants, suit up, and eventually get over it. And when I didn't, they decided that they didn't want to be friends with me anymore. And as I started to pull myself back together and just at least get myself to work every day so that I could manage my team, the pandemic hit. And then I was laid off. And when you talk about the unraveling, it's not just like when you snip a sweater, knowing that one of the rows or two of the rows have gone, but literally the whole damn sweater unraveled. I lost my partner, my friends, and my job. Life wasn't fine anymore. And in that experience, what I learned is that it wasn't ever fine to begin with. Because I actually really didn't want that relationship that I was in. Because I felt like I had to be someone who I wasn't, someone with less education, someone who wasn't as ambitious, someone who wasn't as accomplished, someone who just wanted to be a homemaker. And I was trying to fit into the mold of his family because they liked simple people. And if you know me, you know that there's nothing about me that's simple, but I was trying to make it work. That's why it wasn't great. That's why it was just fine. And with these friendships that I lost, they had been on their last leg for a little while. And somehow we weren't able to make it back to each other. But after 15 years of friendship, I don't think we wanted to let it go. And so we kept trying and trying and trying to no avail. And it just didn't work. See, those friendships weren't actually fine. They needed work that neither of us were willing to do. And my job was good. There was a time where I had projected a path where I would climb the corporate ladder. And I really, really loved my team. I still do. They're my friends to this day. But a little part of me was dying every single day that I was going into that work, knowing that I wasn't doing what I was called to do, my mission, my purpose, which was to change the lives of others through the work of transformation and coaching. I was saying life was fine, even to other people, and even the way that I introduced it to you today, it was good, it was incredible. but it wasn't, because it wasn't mine. It was somebody else's damn good life. But my life was yet to be discovered at that point. At that time, I felt like I was left with nothing. I felt like I was left with the unraveling, taking everything. And technically, it really did in terms of what my life had looked like at that point. But what I found is that it left me with the most purest form of myself. In that dark night of the soul, I got to connect to my most vulnerable truth. That a long time ago, probably when I was about 5 years old, and my dad announced to me and my siblings that he and my mother were getting divorced, and my mom picked us up from him having that conversation with us. And as she pulled away in the blue Toyota Tercel, I turned around in the back window and I looked out, and I left my dad there, yes, but I also felt like I left a part of myself. And from that moment, probably up until this moment 5 years ago, I had decided to become somebody else, to do something else, to please someone other than me, so that I could not be abandoned, so that I could be wanted and loved, and so that I could avoid rejection and pain. And that life that I created that was fine was a life that was in reaction to what I had experienced when I was young. My dad leaving, the bullying that I experienced when I was a kid, the challenges that I had with dating, all of those things. I decided I was going to grow myself up and be strong and have these accomplishments. And nobody was going to tell me anything. I was going to become this amazing doctor with an incredible career and a man that looked so fine that I could take him to my 20-year high school reunion and be like, oh, look at him. That's what I was choosing to do. But that wasn't my life. That was a life that was in reaction. And so in this moment where I thought I lost everything from the unraveling, what I actually had back was myself, the self that I left when I was 5 years old. And she was so beautiful. She was so small and so beautiful. And I had silenced her for so long. And when I started to listen to her, I was able to hear her wants, her dreams, her aspirations. And I learned that the find that I had was nothing compared to the fabulousness that was her vision. As I began to listen to her, and I noticed that there was no coming back. There was no putting this sweater back together. Even if I took it to a seamstress, it's already unraveled. But what I could do was create something new. And when I decided to listen to her and dream a new dream, fabulous was not even the beginning of it. I gave away or sold most of my belongings. I had my mentor's husband help me find a car, and I purchased one because I lived in Brooklyn prior to that, so I didn't have a car anymore. And I picked up my life and moved all the way across the country. I drove from California all the way to the East Coast and decided to finally bet on myself as a full-time entrepreneur. And no sooner than when I landed here on the East Coast, I had a phone call and another phone call. Nandi, can you help my team do this? Nandi, can you support me on this engagement? Nandi, can you lead these executives through this transformational experience? All of the things that I really, really wanted, but was too scared to offer myself. See, that's the thing about fine being the enemy of fabulous. Not only will you accept fine, but you will tell yourself that fabulous isn't possible to you. You will bury your dreams and not believe that it's possible for you. And then when you actually take the chance, then you'll see it was possible all along. And it was beautiful. It was humbling, in fact, because I was able to see, oh no, you have what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. You have the opportunity to be able to live life on your terms. You can be yourself. You can dye your hair. You can wear long nails. You can do anything you want if you choose to live that life, Nandi. It was my protective self, the one who decided that it was too hard to be myself because that version of Nandi got left. That version of Nandi was rejected or bullied or abandoned. That protective self chose fine. But the little girl in me chose fabulous. And the life that I had on the other side of this experience, man, the life that I still have, because I'm still on the other side of the experience, has been magical and breathtaking. And so this Truth and Dare movement that I'm starting is about unleashing the vulnerability, the most vulnerable truth, the little girl inside of each of us, sis, who has been waiting and wanting to share with you, with me, with us, what a fully expressed, authentic, real, incredible, fabulous life could be. To open up the doors for us to be able to live that unapologetically, unashamedly. That's what I'm here to do because I figured it out for myself and I want to help others do that as well. And so if you're listening, this is for you. This is your sign that it's possible for you, that you don't have to settle for fine anymore. So just like I dared myself, I'm daring you. Let the little girl inside of you be in the driver's seat. And I know you might be saying, Nandi, that actually sounds pretty irresponsible. She is about 7 years old and me, and so she can't qualify for a driver's license. She wouldn't know where to go. She wouldn't know where to turn. And I'm telling you this. She has hopes, dreams, and aspirations, wants and desires. She knows who you are at your core. And if you let her tell you where to go, if you let her tell you what she believes might be possible, if you let her creativity run wild, she's going to come up with something that will blow your freaking mind. I promise you. She won't let you accept less than anymore. Instead, she's going to be your main champion, your cheerleader. She's going to help you believe that more is possible for you. So let her be in the driver's seat. That's my dare to you today as listeners. Dare to dream. Dare to choose fabulous over fine. Dare to win this thing called life on your terms. And when you choose to do that, you will notice that you will set yourself free. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I invite you to join us and listen to the other podcasts that are a part of this season. We're really excited as the Truth and Dare movement to welcome you and being a part of this family, a part of this sisterhood. And if you're yearning for more real and authentic conversations, subscribe to the podcast. If you want to learn more about the Truth and Dare movement, go to truththandare.com. Sign up for my email list and check out my services and offerings, including live events. We encourage you to listen. We encourage you to comment. And we encourage you to share your stories with us too at hello@truththandare.com. And most importantly, we dare you to dream. Until next time, take care.